I hope you are having a great February. Things have been busy here. It started off slow in January. We had a little bit of a bump at the first couple of weeks of January. Then things slowed down. I think we were all hoping that the Fed would reduce the rates back to 2.5. That's never going to happen. That was such an anomaly. The cost of getting there is going through another crisis worldwide, like a pandemic or a war. I don't want to go there. I would rather pay the interest than that. And besides, the interest compared to the equity that people have picked up in the last 5 years, I'm sorry, quit complaining. Your interest rate, if you move, is going to be a drop in the bucket that you actually pay unless you live there 100 years compared to the amount of money you've made in the last few years on your house. And if it was your primary residence, probably tax-free. So get over that argument. That's just a ridiculous argument. What I want to talk about today, it's actually a lesson I learned from church last week. And I'd heard a story, and I never really thought about it, but I know I do it in my business. I do it in my life. The premise of it was trying to force using wheels on something that was meant to be carried on our shoulders. What that means is, in our world, as a real estate agent, for instance, we have so many leads that come in, people that call, people that inquire, they register, they go to Zillow, they go to realtor.com. We have so many people, and we have no idea what their motivation is. We're in sales. We want to sell them a house. We don't want to pester them. So what we have to do to manage these amounts of people is create these systems. And you guys know what I'm talking about because you get automated texts, emails, you get automated voicemails, you get bombarded by that stuff, or virtual assistants calling from overseas or whatever. So we create these systems. I equate that to trying to force a wheel on something and to make it easier than carrying it on our shoulders, which is harder. We should be waiting for the one that's ready to do something versus trying to jam a customer into our timeline. I can tell you it's an easy trap to fall into. That's in my business life. That's how we work. We're always trying to figure out how to scale things. And I get it because we have so many people that are looking, and with access to the internet, they can see the houses themselves so much earlier in the process. And most people don't know when they're going to do something. It takes a life change event for them to do it. We're interacting with people for years. And some of you guys have been getting my Monday morning coffee for over 15 years. But what we have to do is we have to have the conversations and build the relationships. And that's hard to scale through automations and text messages and things like that. We've always been a pioneer in the technology side. A lot of that stuff did work early on until everybody started doing it, and it absolutely has just destroyed it. I mean, I get it. I go look at Kelley Blue Book to look up my car to see how much it's worth so I can trade it or not trade it or whatever, and then all of a sudden 25 texts are hitting me. I get it. I don't like it either. Let's think about our personal lives a little bit. And this, I'm going to talk about me. It's so much easier for me to send a text out or an email out to somebody versus picking up the phone and calling them, especially if it's a hard conversation that needs to be had. And some things are meant for conversations and not text message, not social media, and not email. But it's a lot easier to just fire it off and then let it settle down and then hope it works out. So I'm trying with not just customers, not just friends and people I know, but with my family also, because you do get into that habit of just not really having those relationships and taking time and having the clunky conversations, the hard, talking about things you don't want to talk about, but they need to be talked about because it's important to the other person. I guess the message I got of it was pretty convicting is don't take things that were meant to be carried on our shoulders manually and hard and try to jam a wheel on it to make it easy. Now, some things you can, absolutely. Electronic signatures, love those, but not relationships. I believe that human beings were created to have relationships with each other, and relationships are messy and relationships are clunky. It's easy to fall into that trap of chasing the easiest way without having people say no, without people pushing back, without people getting angry, without people having conflict. That's where my experience comes in, is the conflict, the problems, the negotiations, and yeah, we're going to probably have it out a little bit, but we're going to work through this thing together because our job is to have these hard conversations. So I had somebody ask me yesterday, they said, are you always this blunt with your customers? And I thought about it and I'm like, yeah, I actually am that blunt because I don't want somebody to get into a situation they shouldn't be. My job is not to be your best friend. I can be your best friend as we go, but when you're hiring me to help you sell your house or buy a house, my job is to help you get that done and to avoid as many pitfalls as possible because I've got a lot of experience and I know an awful lot of things that don't work. I don't know everything that works, but I can tell you a slew of things that don't work. So I am able to see around a few more corners than somebody that just got into business. There's no question about that. I just wanted to share that. And there's some more videos below covering some various topics I thought might be helpful. But if you have something you're thinking about doing real estate related, I don't care where you live. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. And if I don't know the answer to something, I'm going to tell you I don't know. But I may be able to get you to think about something that you hadn't thought about and at least ponder on it a little bit, especially around timing and taxes and logistics and understanding, how interest rates may matter in some cases and may not matter in your case, just depending on your timing and your financial situation on the amount of taxes you can save right now. I'm happy to have these conversations. And if it's an area like accounting or insurance or something or law, I'm going to point you to good people. I'm going to give you some basic info and at least some good questions to ask the professionals if it's outside of my field. I hope this is helpful. I hope you guys have a great week as we all head into spring, which I'm so glad about. I'm so tired of cooler weather and so excited about spring. It's going to be a very busy spring and summer here. A lot of folks are planning trips, and I just know it. Been doing it long enough. I feel the pulse. It's going to be a crazy spring and summer this year. And guys, just know prices ain't going down. Maybe on some of the higher end stuff, you're going to see some of the people that were hoping to get this. It is coming down. But if you're looking for under 500 in our region, you just need to understand there's just not much out there. And if you wait, the cost of it's going to go up way more than what your interest would ever be from going from your 3% rates, which you don't want to leave. I get it. I don't want to leave mine either, but I'm going to have to. But I'm going to be able to save money versus buying something 3 years from now that costs 20% more. So I'd rather pay 4% more or 3% more than I would 20% more, especially when I probably ain't going to live there long enough for it to really make a difference anyway, or I'll float the rate down or refinance it if the rates magically ever do come back down. But I can tell you this, I don't want whatever cataclysmic event it is where the government creates an environment where we can have 2 and 3% interest rates again. The cost of that is way too high for everything else.